The words, "and did those feet in ancient time," were originally written by Blake as part of the preface to his long and very complex poem, Milton. The poem combines biblical story with autobiography and myth-making, and in it the poet Milton decides to return to earth from the infinity to which he has ascended. He wrenches himself out of eternity, returning to earth as a comet which strikes Blake's foot. Blake's identity is then fused with Milton's via their female emanation, and is charged with the task of writing a new myth that will correct the errors of Paradise Lost. If this sounds a little crazy, please be reassured to know that it is. It is a dazzlingly complex poem that is funny in places, but also extremely hard to understand, even by seasoned Blake scholars. Not least because it goes out of its way to emphasize voyages of the imagination instead of merely describing material reality. Blake is the poet who elsewhere spoke of the need to cleanse the doors of perception, by which he meant that if you only understand the world by attending to the data that you take in through your five senses, you cut yourself off from the infinite possibility of the worlds beyond material existence. Blake was an intensely religious poet, and he believed that the world of the infinite and eternal was vastly more important than the petty concerns of earthly reality. He also believed that Enlightenment principles of scientific understanding, Newton's laws of physics, Bacon's scientific method and inductive reasoning, Locke's conception of the human mind as a blank slate that needed sensory data to write knowledge on it, these principles trapped humanity in prisons of their own bodies and minds, cutting them off from the infinite universe and from connection with one another. Furthermore, he understood the established church, state-sanctioned religion, as an agent of that imprisonment. He saw it as his mission to free up our minds from the slavery and imprisonment that the church and the state inflicted upon us. One way to do that was to fight back against the measuring and calculation of the material world espoused by scientific method. Blake then constructed elaborate myths that retold the creation of the universe as a series of painful rips that separated the world from the infinite eternity to which it properly belonged. The lines, "and did those feet in ancient time," appeared as the second half of the preface to Milton. The first half, though, was a powerful denunciation of the errors of classical literature, both Greek and Roman. The mistaken valuation of classical antiquity, Blake claims, has curbed poetic expression, inhibiting even Shakespeare and Milton. But there will be a time when true inspiration is recognized and the general malady and infection from the silly Greek and Latin slaves of the sword, as Blake said, will be overcome. There follows a call to arms to men of the New Age to set their foreheads against the ignorant hirelings and to occupy themselves with mental rather than corporeal war, refusing the ancient materialist models and seeking a new poetry that is true to our own imaginations, those worlds of eternity in which we shall live forever. Truly inspired poetry of the imagination, then, according to Blake, is an expression of the infinite. It is beyond time and beyond the mundane concerns of corporeal warfare recorded in classical epics. This opening section of the preface to Milton is printed in highly compressed lines of dense prose. It's a solid block of text that extends across the width of the page. The effect of the sudden shift to the quatrains of the lines beginning "and did those feet in ancient time," surrounded by the wider spaces of the page, coloured with a light blue, yellow and pink watercolour wash, evoking a sky at sunrise or sunset, is one of moving from angry, querulous frustration to a more calm and transcendent realm. As the Blake scholar Nancy Gosley puts it, the change from an angry argument about poetics to the lyric simplicity of the hymn is so startling that the song begins to speak as if from the vantage point of of the world of eternity. The lines beginning, "and did those feet in ancient time," assume the status of the song of the Eternals, their haunting timelessness emphasized by the opening "and," a conjunction that conjoins with nothing, it's an absence, and also by the pronoun "those," "and did those feet," that has no clear referent. The sense of the lines coming from a distant and otherworldly dimension, however, does not prevent specific references to concrete and the material, such as England's mountains green, for example. The Eternal does not operate in a distant domain, but emerges out of the world that we inhabit. The song asks whether Jerusalem was builded here among these dark satanic mills. The lines collapse ancient time with the dark satanic mills of the present, but it also collapses space so that Jerusalem and England get smooshed together, coexisting in both time and space, and resisting the boundaries of temporal and geographical measurement that keeps the world apart, the forms of measurement that informed scientific inductive reasoning. The song ends with a powerful call to arms. "Bring me my bow of burning gold." But these are not earthly weapons. They are the tools of mental fight. They are impossible weapons overlaid with mythic structure, chariots of fire. The point about England's green and pleasant land isn't one of nationalistic patriotism. England is corrupt and awful. It has been corrupted by scientific method and an obsession with physical battles. And it can't be healed until we have won the mental fight by denying the boundaries of time and space, breaking free of the limitations of our own perceptions, and recognizing that all time and all space is available to us now. Jerusalem of ancient time can be here among the dark satanic mills. We all have access to all eternity. So this is not about England. It is about all time and all space.